Okay, kids, it's time for another episode of the Fueled by Weird podcast, the only podcast to know where to find the One Piece. I'm Chris Daly, and tonight I'd like to welcome Matt Stevens to the show. Matt, what's going on, my friend?
Nothing. Thanks for having me, Chris. Happy to be here.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad we can make this happen, and thanks for reaching out. Ton of people like to reach out, and I don't let you get a chance to get to everybody. I try to, um, but I'm glad that we could make this work out. I'm very excited.
Yeah, listen, I'll be honest, I pursued you. I was actively pursuing you. So like
That's good.
I didn't let you say no. But I'm glad it's happening.
Yeah, no, that's good. Sometimes, I get so many people reaching out, I forget to write them all down, and then I go back and, I miss a few and I feel awful. So I'm glad that you stayed there
Yeah.
and kept at it because that helped me remember. So thank you.
Yeah. Squeaky wheel.
There you go. There you go. So I like to start these things off with the icebreaker question usually. So tonight's question is, in your opinion, what vegetable is best with cheese?
Ooh. Um, what vegetable? I'm taking this way too seriously.
It's okay. These
Uh,
these questions are the ones that usually throw people off or the icebreaker.
yeah, I love it. I'm gonna go with the first thing that popped into my head, and it's zucchini.
Okay.
Like roasted zucchini with
Okay.
some like I mean it could go a bunch of ways, but like
Sure.
dipped into like either roasted with some feta cheese on the top. I used to be a chef, so
Okay.
roasted with some feta cheese and you know or like dipped in like a fondue or something.
Okay.
Yeah,
There you go.
I'll beat myself up later because there's a better answer, but that's what came to mind.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah,
That's a good answer, and that's not one I would have expected, so I like that.
yeah,
I
vegetable
think
cheese.
I think for me, I think and I'm just like you, I'm just gonna go with the first one that comes to my head. I'm just gonna pick broccoli. I mean, I'm not really a big I try to be a better vegetable eater than I am. I'm not super good at it. And yeah, my father figure definitely shows that I'm not good at eating vegetables. But yeah, I think broccoli and cheese is probably the way I would go if I had to pick.
Yeah, smothered or just
Just whatever.
yeah.
Either way. I think probably, I guess if you're gonna put me on the spot, I think I'd probably say like a fondue type thing too, where
Fondue, yeah.
yeah, just so I can control the cheese. Don't put it on there for me. Let me cheese it.
Yeah, I'm the
Right?
same way. Yeah, I want
There
to
you go.
control because sometimes, the last bite had too much cheese and you want to be able to dial it back a little bit. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point. A little
Plus,
cheese control.
one of the weird things about getting old is it's not been officially medically confirmed, but I think I've developed some kind of a dairy allergy. It's super weird, and it's not like a lactose intolerant thing. It's if I eat too much dairy, like I start to like my throat starts to swell up a little bit, and like my tongue and my inside of my mouth starts to swell up. It's super weird, and like it's with most dairy, so like milk, cheese, ice cream, some chocolates, dark chocolate not so much, but milk chocolate. It's super weird. And I told my doctor about it, and he's just like, "Yeah, it sounds like an allergy. I mean, you can go get a bunch of tests for it, or you can just stop eating dairy." And I'm like, "Okay." So I've cut a lot of stuff out of my diet that used to be there. Switched from dairy milk, and I had to go find a different kind of milk that still was kind of okay. And I think I finally settled on a particular type of oat milk that seems to
Yeah.
be okay. And
Yeah.
it's hard sometimes to not have some of that stuff, but you decide kind of pick the better of two evils or the lesser of two evils. The I could eat this because it tastes good, but I'm gonna feel like crap later, or I could not eat that and do something else. So that's usually
Oh,
the way I goes.
oh yeah. Yeah, those are hard lessons.
Oh, for
I've had a
sure.
couple of those in my life too with food where it's like I just feel like crap if I eat that, so
Yeah.
I'm just not going to eat that. And then like on the rare occasion that I do have it, um I enjoy it the hell out of it because it's I don't do it that often, so it's
Yeah.
it's it's like a real treat. But that's a hard lesson for me. I
Yeah.
mean, definitely it was like, what? I can't eat that every day.
Yeah.
you know?
But it's like, should I eat this and like my throat swells up and I can't like breathe or whatever, or do I just not do it? And it's hard. My and it's weird because like for most of my life it's never been an issue, but within the last couple of years, all of a sudden it just kind of is a thing that happened. And my oldest daughter, she has something that's very, very similar to it,
Mhm.
which she's like, she hasn't quite learned how the if I do this, it's gonna make me feel crappy. Like she's like, I just do it because it tastes good, and I know it's gonna make me feel crappy, but it tastes good, and she hasn't quite got past that part yet. But I'm like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
you'll eventually learn that,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
She's
I love,
she's 18, she's still figuring stuff out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think I learned that lesson until, you know, 2 years ago. So she's got time.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah. I love that doctor's response. Like, you got two choices. You could either,
Yeah,
eat it or and suffer or not eat it. Like I can just, I know he said that 1,000 times to different people. It's like I don't care what job you do, you have a thing, and we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording.
yeah,
I don't care what job you do, how you spend your days. There's a thing that you have to say or do over and over again, and the person that you're doing it with doesn't usually understand that.
yeah,
But you're the expert in the room, giving whatever you're doing for that person, and they just don't realize that you've said that thing 1,000 times,
yeah,
So like I'm an art teacher and um for my day job, and I'm constantly fielding like uh when I say that, people say, "Oh, I can't draw a straight line," or "I can't even draw a stick figure." And they're the first person that's ever said that to anybody.
yeah.
And I just put a little tally mark in my like notebook of people who've said that exact same thing to me, you know?
Or the people that say, I can't draw, I'm not creative, I can't do anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's number three. I'm not creative. It's
Oh,
like,
I'm sure.
what do you mean? You're a
Yeah.
human being. That's literally what we are, is
Hmm.
problem solvers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that doctor, he's a relatively new doctor because I decided when I got to my 40s, I probably should start taking my health a little seriously. And I like him because he's kind of a no-nonsense doctor and he's not going to sugarcoat stuff for you. And he's just like, we can get you, we can spend a bunch of money and get tested and get confirmed that way, or you can just not eat that thing anymore. And I was like, I appreciate that, because not
Yeah.
a lot of doctors would be like, well, let's go get you tested for 50 different things. It's going to cost you a whole bunch of money. It's like, so I appreciate like him just with being that blunt with me. And a lot of people have not liked him that much because of that. But I'm like, I don't want a doctor to sweet talk me. I want a doctor to like tell me straight up, like, because I mean,
Yeah.
I want someone to be honest with me, especially a doctor
Yeah. That exactly. I agree. Couldn't agree more.
for sure. All right, man. So enough about old man ailment hour, I guess. Let's get to the fun stuff. So, like we were talking about before, the whole concept of Fuel by Weird is, your hobbies, your interests, all that stuff that, you're into come together to make you who you are as a person. So when you're not busy, teaching kids in school how to do art, what kind of stuff are you into?
Oh man, I have a pretty good like routine of um I've got a family, just three of us, and um but like my the stuff that I nerd out on, it's all kind of, it does this like teaching. I love to teach. I love to draw, and
Yeah,
I love to talk about it. I like to be in conversations with other people, and you know kind of explore the creative world.
yeah,
So I get to do that really all day, like
sure.
I get to teach, I get to talk to the kids about art, or friends, and then I get to make it. So it's all kind of synchronous. It's maybe too much, like but I don't know another way. It's just how I move through the world.
Yeah.
Making stuff and thinking about making stuff. and getting better at making stuff, and then hopefully sharing it with people, and then just doing it again. And I get a little bit, I don't love the word obsessive, but I get hyper focused on things,
Sure.
and just, which is actually a really good trait for an artist because you're able to complete things, without
Yeah.
that, like these big massive projects just wouldn't, you couldn't get them done, so
Yeah.
so it's a bit of a superpower for making stuff, and then I've just had to learn how to uh balance it with the rest of my life. So it means waking up a little earlier and getting an hour in before anybody's up. Um, you know, Finding an hour after school. So I try to get a couple hours in a day of work, of making stuff. So yeah, that's kind of what my thing is.
Nice. Yeah, it's hard sometimes, because, like you, I'm also up, usually half hour before everybody else. And I'm usually up for at least that long after everyone goes to bed. So it's, you just got to try to find those times in the day to make things happen. Because, everyone always is like, I don't have enough time I really want to do this thing, but I just don't have enough time during the day. It's like, if you want to do the thing, you just have to find the time to do it. The time's there. You just have to, you know, you've got the same amount of time in your day as everybody else does. And if all
Yeah.
these people can find time to make stuff, then you can make stuff too. You just have to, I don't know if it's a matter of reprioritizing what you're doing or, just utilizing your time better. There's all different things that it could be, but everyone has the same amount of time and everybody can make stuff if they really, really want to.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's I like that reprioritizing. It's like, yeah, if you want to do it, do it. Because everybody has ideas, everybody's,
Yeah.
able to make stuff, everybody's creative. If you get into conversation with anybody, they have their idea or their ideas of the thing that they could make or draw or write or, record, whatever it is. So it's really just the people that prioritize and say I'm gonna do it and then stick with it, because it's not like there's the creative people and then the uncreative people. It's just the creative people that are going on to get it done and get it out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. And, and it's nothing against those people, but it's like if you think about it, everyone spends time doom scrolling on their phone every single day. I'm guilty of it. Everybody's guilty of it. And if you think, minimum like half hour a day, let's say you spend on your phone, that adds up over the week. And all of that time could be used, putting into your passion project, whatever it might be. So, like I said, just reprioritizing, hey, instead of just doom scrolling on your phone, looking at all the depressing stuff that's happening, in the news and, just everywhere, spend your time, focusing on something you want to do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's and I don't know, that happened for me, um really, when my actually before my daughter was born, when my wife was pregnant. That kind of kicked in, and I still haven't quite unpacked it yet, but um it kicked in like hard, like, oh, you have to do you if you, I don't know why. It was just like maybe something about having created my eventual replacement or something like that, or like understanding that time is limited and learning that in just kind of a real way or something. But it
Yeah.
was when my wife was pregnant, and I had this really cool job, um, working with this naturopathic doctor who was writing a book, and he wanted me to do these illustrations. Um, it was a cute book called Baby Barbells, and the idea was for new dads to bond with their newborns by doing like baby barbells. So like not really like, but like doing all sorts of floor exercises and fun things very safely, but
Yeah.
balancing them on your lap and whatever, or lifting them up and stuff like that as a kind of a cute way to bond. But anyway, it was like perfect timing because it was, as we were pregnant and in the process of doing that, and then here I was illustrating this book for this for me, like the book came out when my daughter was a newborn, so I had
Yeah.
this cool book that I'd illustrated about being a new dad. So I don't know, it was just kind of synchronous. But during that
Yeah.
process, I remember being like, yeah, man, I have to do this. I just have to. I have to do this every day. I have to keep making stuff because time is limited, and it just hit home in a way that hadn't hit before. You know?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've within the last couple of years that's kind of started hitting me really hard too because I just turned 40 recently. I'll be 42 in September. And I was like, man, there's more time behind me than there is in front of me. And like, what am I doing? I got to start, doing just stuff like, so yeah, I've started kind of been hit with that existential crisis kind of thing. So I
yeah,
I feel you, man. I feel you.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So girl dad, welcome to the girl dad club. I have two daughters myself.
yeah.
How old's your daughter?
She's 16.
Nice.
Yeah,
My oldest is 18, so right there with you.
yeah, yeah,
So how's being a girl dad? I have to always take a minute to ask people that because I've got mo a lot of my friends are girl dads, and I've got people ask me, like, you know, don't you wish you had like a son, or at least you could have one of each or whatever. And I never really thought about it until I asked this one guy I know, and I was like, people always ask me this, what have people ever asked you that before? And he said, I'm just fine with my daughters and I don't want a son because boys wreck your stuff.
yeah,
Girls will wreck you emotionally, but boys will
yeah.
wreck you physically. So I'm super glad to not have sons and I'm happy with my daughters. And I just wanted my kids to be healthy. I didn't really care, gender. But what about you? What's, life as a girl dad?
Yeah, same. It was, health was obviously the first thing, but
Sure.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if it was just even part of it's so out of your control that I just
Yeah.
kind of was like, cool, a girl, like,
Yeah.
um, and there was never like I guess the only, I, I often wonder what my relationship with a son would be. Not to get too deep.
Yeah.
With my daughter, it's great. With a
Yeah.
son, I think I always worried. If I think about it, I worry that there would be a lot of this.
Sure.
I don't know. Again, going back to like things you haven't unpacked, but um, when I've asked myself the question, I feel like I lucked out by having a girl.
For
Because
sure.
we just don't we don't clash at all. We have a great
That's
relationship, and
that's good.
um, except for just normal stuff like
Yeah.
put your dish in the sink, but
Yeah,
like
for sure.
generally
Yeah.
there's no like mythic battle simmering behind the scenes that we're always kind of dealing with. Like
Yeah.
we we vibe and connect and love each other, and there's no like big drama. So
That's
yeah, I
good.
feel like I lucked out.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
with my youngest daughter and I, we get along pretty good. And my oldest daughter and I, we used to get along when she was younger, but now that she's older, we kind of do this quite a bit.
Yeah.
Um,
So maybe it's coming for me.
Maybe, I don't know. It's been happening since she hit puberty. So I think it's actually this is starting to be a lot less. So that's good. They always tell me that, the girls will hit puberty. They'll be your best friend till they hit puberty, and then
Yeah.
you're the biggest jerk, and then they'll get, late teens, early 20s, and then all of a sudden you're their best friend again. So
Hmm.
I'm very excited for that. With having a boy, it's people are like, aren't you upset that you don't have anyone to carry on, the family name? Like, I don't care. That's of all the things that we worried about,
Yeah.
that's like the very bottom of the list, even if it's even on the list. So I don't care. I just
No.
want healthy kids. I don't boy, girl, I don't care. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, what are we, Earls?
Right?
That's like, what are we, Barons?
I mean,
Like,
the whole wreck you emotionally thing is definitely the case because girls are drama. That's
oh yeah.
that's that's yeah, there's lots of drama. And luckily, they just saved most of that for their mom. So that works for me. All right, man. So I want to take a trip in the Wayback Machine and go all the way back to what it was that inspired you to become an artist in the first place.
Um, God, you're asking some good questions. You know, it's it, it's such a petty thing, but like I think validation, like I remember my first drawing experiences were copying old cartoons, um, like from uh from the Sunday newspaper,
Sure.
just copying, not tracing, and that was kind of like key. I was just kind of freehand reproducing them, and
Yeah.
I could see the shapes. Like I could see that, this guy's cheek was a big round oval, and I could see that it was like four lines for the
Yeah.
hair, and the hat was tilted at 45. Just visual spatial stuff I could do from an early age. And, like my aunt was like, Matt, those are so good. And my grandmother was like, oh, Matt, you're such, and like probably my dad would said, those are pretty, so like honestly that's the type of stuff that validation, and that like when you're young looking for an identity, like who the hell am I, that stuff's powerful.
For sure.
So as a teacher, I'm always looking for those kids who are in my art class and don't know that they have any talent. They found
Yeah.
themselves in my art class. I teach high school, so it doesn't happen all the time, but I'll get kids
Yeah.
who are like, "Oh, I'm just taking art. Like I got to fulfill the elective." And I have this. It's not a move. It's genuine, but like, if you do it enough, it feels like a move where you're like, Dylan, I'm not just saying this, dude. That's pretty freaking good. Like, not everyone could, whatever, some version of that. I've
Sure.
said that a ton of times to kids, and it's most cool when the kid doesn't know it, and it's the first time they're hearing it. And who knows? I don't know. It's cool because it's cool to give a kid a compliment, especially when they're not expecting it. When they think
Yeah.
their thing is cool and they get a compliment, that's great. But when
Yeah.
they don't know and they're doing something really neat, um, it's a little more special. And you never know. I bet a couple of those kids have like it's shaped their identity a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's what happened to me as a young age, just doing these little renderings of funny paper people, getting that validation. Then I met a kid in my best friend growing up, uh, who could draw better than me, and he could draw from his imagination. And I was like, what? Like he was really simple drawings now as an adult, but um, like he was doing things that I was doing copying, but he was doing it from his imagination. And so like those are the two early formative experience, places I found myself where I was like, oh, I like this, and that kind of like I don't know, that almost like desire to get better at something.
Sure.
Like it was drawing. It was like I want to get better at drawing. I want to draw things that I don't know how to draw. And as long answer. Sorry about that, but I'm
No, you're
almost
fine. You're good.
um, understanding it as I got older that, oh, wait a second, this is a lifelong passion. This is something I can do my entire life, and it can help. It can be like these signposts throughout my life. These like goalposts, or like I don't know, just like there's always drawing. There's always drawing. I'm always it's a lifelong pursuit. And whenever I get the opportunity, I always tell kids like find something. It doesn't have to be drawing, but get something you do for your whole life. Um, you don't even have to, you don't have to make money at it or something, but get something that you do as a lifelong pursuit. and eventually you'll be the expert in the room, which
Yeah,
is a cool thing to be. It's a cool thing to be in a
absolutely.
room that then you know more than anybody else. Not
Yeah,
in an ego way, but just it's kind of a
right.
cool like, yeah, man, I look at nobody knows this, but I do because I've spent 40 years doing it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's not
So
it's not an ego boost, but in a way it kind of is because it's like it's an ego boost in a good way, where it's like,
yeah,
I know more than these people, but I'm I'm here to share it with them. So
yeah,
I'm excited to help share this thing that I know about.
yeah,
They're not like going to hold it over. I'm like, I know better than you, or I know more than you about this. It's like, hey, I know a lot about this and no one else here knows about it, and I'm going to tell them, and it's going to be awesome.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I get
yeah,
it. I get
yeah.
it.
Cool, man.
That's cool. So that's really cool that, it wasn't really, a thing that inspired you to become an artist. It was more just the encouragement from, your older relatives, your aunt, your grandma, stuff like that. That's really cool. And it's cool that you've kind of, in a way you're trying to pay it forward by doing that with your students because, like you said, some of these kids might not have even been received a compliment on stuff they're doing before. And so like it might be brand new to them. And so you don't know how that's affecting them, even in a personal way. So
Yeah,
maybe, you know, 10, 15 years from now, they're going to come back and be like, hey, look at this thing because of you. I'm an artist now. Or, I found this thing because of your encouragement. So that's really cool that you're paying it forward that way.
yeah, cool. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's funny. I see people from high school who like were not in any shape or form like connected to art, at least that I knew about, and they'll
Yeah.
pop up on like Instagram, um, making shit, and it's like so cool. And like, this one girl I'm thinking about, she got into making collages, in her adult life, and there's
Yeah.
just like these beautiful little precious. I haven't seen her post much in the past couple of years, but she had a jag there for a couple of years where, um, just these beautiful little precious collages and just telling stories of with all this found stuff that she would put together. And you could see in her work that she's like expressing herself, and like, and she was good at it, and
Yeah.
like she had something, and you could just see it in the work. And maybe I'm just forgetting the way she would talk about it too, but maybe it was also that. But yeah, it's cool to see people like find that spark and like,
Yeah.
be like, oh, I, having a different relationship with the word artist. Like, you don't have to be an artist. You could just make shit, like,
Yeah.
and you know,
Yeah. And a lot of those kids, like I said, they might not have ever received a compliment about stuff they're working on. And the fact that, you're giving that to them just the way that you were given that same kind of compliment, where, it's a lot easier to kind of pursue those kind of passions and those kind of interests by getting that validation from an older adult or, someone that you look up to or someone that you respect.
yeah,
So
yeah,
the way that those compliments from your aunt and your grandma, went a long way with you, they could go a really long way with one of your students. So that's very cool.
yeah, yeah, cool.
Yeah. All right. So, you mentioned this that you used to be a chef and now you're a high school teacher, a high school art teacher. That's like a big kind of like a 180 shift. So how did you kind of go from being a chef to being a high school art teacher?
um, you know, College to waiter to bartender to uh, garde manger, which is like the salad dude, to desserts to grill cook to saute cook to sous chef to chef. Like, this is over the course of whatever 5 6 years. I
Yeah.
just the only thing I never did was manage, but I went through basically every station, and a chef job opened up and I got it, and did that for a couple of years, and then the restaurant closed. So if the restaurant had closed, it's one of those like moments in your life where you're like, oh, if the restaurant had kept going, who knows where I would be right now? But it
Sure.
it it closed, so um, I did construction for a couple of years, and um, That's not even true. Do construction. That's not even. Oh, that's such. Oh, I just caught myself on a big fucking lie. I did not do construction. I worked for a carpenter as the gruntiest grunt of like put these shingles on the roof so I can shingle the thing and you know carrying plywood and sheetrock. So
That still counts.
yeah, it counts.
It still
Yeah,
counts.
it sounded like I was yeah, I went from it into construction and started building houses. No, I was just working for a carpenter who knew what he was doing, and I learned a bunch of stuff. But
Nice.
um, and then I got fired, and then just my mom at Thanksgiving. I mean, I'll tell the story. My mom at Thanksgiving, she could see I was kind of like a little bit lost. Like, what do I do now? She's like, uh, there's this program. You could become a teacher with, you don't have to do this. You could do this, and it's a pathway for older folks who have already had a career and blah blah blah. And it's like a Connecticut program. And she's like, you could be certified to teach in a summer. And I was like, wait, what? And it just is one of those moments in life. And I was like, oh, yeah, let me apply. And I got in and, you know, to I mean, that was Thanksgiving, but then did the program the following summer and was got a job in the fall. And that was, 22 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it wasn't on the plan. It wasn't a part of the plan, but just it worked. It fit, it fit the time of my life and who I am as a person. And like, um, I realized I liked to teach. I've been teaching like martial arts and stuff previously, and I was like
Wow.
teaching in the kitchen. So I had some experience teaching, but not as like my identity was a teacher. It was just I liked it, but it wasn't like something I thought of like as a career
Right.
until, Yay Mom put that idea out there and she just said
Yeah.
it right idea at the right time. And yeah, it was great.
There you go. That's awesome, man. And if, that didn't fit the plan, you just throw out the plan and get a new plan.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
you go.
And luckily it stuck, luckily it worked out and you know, teaching's great. I love it. And it also gives me a lot of time to make stuff.
There you go. Because, while your kids are making stuff, you can make your own stuff.
Yeah.
There you go. What's the hardest part about being a teacher?
um it's not even the teaching. The teaching is the fun part. And I think I'm pretty good at that. Um, it's the well now it's the lack of um, just where we are, where kids are nowadays. They're disconnected, and I think I get it a lot less than maybe some of the other core subjects, but
Sure.
just getting kids to be engaged. That's probably the worst part when you've got kids. This semester is great. It's ending this week, but the semester before it was rough. It was like I had like kids failing art just because for just not doing the projects, or some kids just not showing up, just not even coming to school. So that's the worst, you know. Like, what do you mean you're gonna fail art? Like, I don't. Like I make it's a
Crazy.
fun. All my classes are I think fun. So like if you're
Sure.
failing, you're really making an effort
Yeah,
to
for
fail.
sure.
You're actively failing.
For sure.
So
Um,
yeah, that's the worst part.
on the flip side, what's the best part about being a teacher?
Um, it's performative. So um, I really like performing. And I don't think people think about teaching like that, but you really, you have an audience captive, but
Yeah.
high school, they've signed up for your class, so they know what they're getting into. And
Sure.
then like teaching them about perspective and like we're going to learn about 1 point perspective, but um, or like let's learn about cubism, which the turn of the century, Pablo Picasso, George Braque, they were all about seeing things from multiple perspectives. Um, and this was right after the Wright brothers um, got us up into the air, and that was a whole way of seeing the world, a new way of seeing the world. So it was a time in history of seeing things from a new perspective. So like that's kind of that's a little version of what I do in the classroom, like getting kids to think about things in new ways and kind of doing like a little, I got the slideshow, I got the art, and doing a little performance to get them kind of excited and thinking about things, and then be like, and so we're gonna do, and then we'll jump into a project, but kind of laying the groundwork, getting them to talk about it and think about it, and then like make something with all that bubbling around in their mind. That's like the best part. That's so much fun, you know?
Like when everything you've been teaching them, you can see it click in their brain and then it kind of just
Yeah.
manifests. That's cool.
Yeah. 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 Or even better, like that. And then when they're following up with questions or like new thinking is really cool. Like, when they take the nugget that I've given them and they like polish it a little bit or they like turn it and like that little nugget of information, and then they're just like trying to look at it from a new perspective and
Yeah.
or add to it or something. That's really fun. Like you don't always get that, but sometimes they're in that like it's an assignment that I'm completing, and
Yeah.
they can't get out of that box. But in art, you get a lot of the kids that kind of want to add on to the idea and like make their own. So all my activities and projects are, the back door is always wide open. So if they want to run with it, they can, as long as they're learning the thing that I want them to learn. It's all, the barn doors are open and they can, you know, like I had a kid, really talented kid. Uh, they were reproducing a master painting, and he picked, I think it was a Van Gogh painting. It wasn't a Van Gogh painting, but I can't remember who the artist was. It wasn't a painting I was familiar with, but anyway, he did a great little reproduction of it, and he put like a little rim light on. He like changed the painting. He added a rim light, which like a little glow on the edge of this. I think it was like a hill, because he just thought it looked better. And he's like, "Am I allowed to do that?" And he did such a great job on the painting, even though it was a reproduction. I was like, yeah, man. Like now like it's your painting, so like you completed the assignment, and you want to put a fucking rim light on it, do it. It looks
Nice.
cool.
For
I bet
sure.
if you show that to the artist, the original artist, he would be like, yeah, man, I like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's really cool. Okay, so those who are probably here to listen to us talk about comics, now's the time. Okay, so I want to get back in the Wayback Machine again, and I want to go back and talk about what it was that got you interested in comics in the first place.
They always felt like there's something kind of treasury about them, like movies you had at least for me growing up in the 80s, 70s and 80s, you had your cable and you had your movie theaters to see movies. This
Yeah,
was even pre VHS. Um, so that was kind of limited, but then in high school we'd take the bus into the city, into New Haven, and there was a comic book store, so like the idea of like shelf after shelf of story is pretty crazy.
sure.
Like even now, like if you walk into a comic book store, there's like a real feeling of like not treasure, but just like undiscovered stuff that like walking into a dragon's lair full of thousands of chests that you're never going to get to open, and but
Mhm.
there's cool stuff in there. Um, that kind of that kind of really turned me on as a kid. Like, and then again, going back to identity, like finding the stories that really spoke to you. I used to go in with my buddy Dave and the buddies Dave and Pat, and um, Dave liked Spider-Man, and Pat would get. I think Pat was into. I don't remember. I think Pat was in. He was into like a lot of alt stuff, but maybe he was into Batman or something. But I remember Dave was into Superman, and I mean Spider-Man, and I liked Daredevil a lot. That like I liked his vibe. I liked that he was blind and um kind of navigating the world even better than other people. And he kind of a self-made superhero where he had this heightened senses. But yeah, I just again finding your identity through these larger than life characters, and knowing that like there were lots of stories in this world that a month ago you didn't know existed. So I spent a couple years trying to get every Daredevil that ever existed, and like that kind of completionist mindset that I don't have it anymore. But no, that's not true. I do. Not so much with single issues, but if I like a story, I'll try to I'll get the whole run. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, that idea of just like all these stories sitting on a shelf, and like also the kind of like counterculture aspect of it where not everyone's coming into these stores. Like
Right.
there's a barrier, there's a cultural barrier to entry for a lot of people that is really interesting. And you know I'm talking out of my depth here, but I don't think it exists in other cultures like Japan. I think I don't think the places where you get stories and words have the same barriers. But here it's like, even though the superhero movies are the biggest money making things, comic book stores are still kind of a little bit counterculture. They're not Barnes and Noble. So
Right.
something about that I always liked.
For sure. That's cool, man. So you've been taking your love of comics so far as you have your own imprint, Dark Web Comics. Why don't we take a quick minute to talk about that?
So I got a call in 2019 from um, someone who'd found me on Google uh, when they were searching for Connecticut comic book artists, and my website came up. And I get a lot of calls like that I was getting a lot of calls like that as an illustrator, just of potential illustration jobs. And
Sure.
um, you know, I don't even know the exact number, but a lot of them just don't go anywhere. They're people who have an idea and they get excited about it and then don't follow through. But I took a call with this guy Alex, and um, I remember getting off the phone after like 45 minutes and like going into my wife and being like, I think this dude's the real deal. He has like a really cool story that he's writing, and it's all the stuff that I'd love to think about. It's like sci-fi, and it's like simulated worlds and near future kind of cyberpunky stuff. And the title of it is Digital Pools. And he wants to make a comic book. And we were both very new to comic books. I'd done a lot of illustration, but this was our first um, like jump into the comic book making world. I'd made
Yeah.
stuff on my own, like that I made something for my master's thesis. I made a comic book. I made a couple other little things, but really, no, 10 people saw them. It wasn't really for anybody except for me.
Yeah.
Um, but I always loved the idea of making them. It was kind of like that that thing I never did. I did a lot of work in illustration, doing illustration for people
Yeah,
and businesses, magazines and books and stuff. But actually drawing stories, I you know, it almost seemed like too. I wasn't ready for it. Kind of a late bloomer thing, I think, because
yeah,
you have to be you have to wear so many hats in comic books. Um, you're the you're the you make the costumes, you you're the director of photography, you have to figure out the color scheme, you have to figure out the angles, you have to figure out what the characters look like. There's you do everything. So I think I just wasn't ready for it.
sure.
But I got this call, and it just was kind of um a really good time. So we spent, you know, all of COVID. It's kind of our COVID baby, digital pools. And in the process, we made an imprint called Dark Web Comics just to house it under something. Um, and we did a series of Kickstarters, and you know kickstarted the first 5 issues and a trade. Um, and then um, we're still working on it. We just finished issue 10. Or
Nice.
no, that's not true. We didn't finish it, but we're it's drawn. I've just got to color it. And then issue 11 and issue 12 are going to be made over the next, let's call it 6 months. So we'll have a complete 12 issue run. Let's say by November, and then
Nice.
we're gonna we're gonna launch that um, a couple different ways. Kickstarter being one of them. We also have a relationship with Macroverse, which is a really cool uh, comic distributor.
Okay.
So it'll be on their site, and yeah, so that was really that's dark web comics. That's Alex and I, um, and then in the middle of that, it's so much fun to collaborate with someone and not have to do everything. Like
Yeah.
he's a great writer, and it's great to he wears that hat in that partnership, and I make the art, and it's just so much fun to collaborate. But I
Yeah.
also wanted to, I've got ideas of my own, so I have the other story that I work on is called Panopticon, and that's written by me and drawn by me. So I've got the collab with Alex, Digital Pools, and I've got Panopticon that I do solo.
Very cool. And I was actually just going to bring that up. So thank you for the lead in.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so speaking about Kickstarter and your book Panopticon, um, you just got done with your most recent Kickstarter for that, and if I remember correctly, it went very well.
It went good. Yeah, we got funded.
Nice.
Yeah, it got funded. The goal was to raise enough money to Well, the goal was to get 1,000 readers, but listen, Kickstarter's a cruel mistress, so we didn't get 1,000. But the goal was to raise enough money to print some books and have the physical books for conventions. Because I think you really get more invested readers. Um, when you're able to meet them and maybe have a conversation about the book in person, and give them some free swag and develop a
Yeah.
little bit of a relationship. I always found those are the most they'll follow you through projects more than just random people that think your project's cool on Kickstarter, and that's great too. But
Yeah.
I think the more long lasting ones are usually um, the ones you meet in conventions. So the goal of this Kickstarter was to, it's a brand new project, so to start to develop the a reader base and to print some books. So that mission has been accomplished.
Very cool. Yeah, finding
Yeah.
those fans that'll be, the ones that'll keep coming back. Those are the ones that, are hard to find, but once you find them, you got to keep on to those guys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The ones that like, because not everyone's gonna like what you do,
Yeah.
um, but somebody's gonna like what you do. And I always, Alex and I always say, like, the model of being, the model of trying to be, especially nowadays, of trying to be like the next, you know, Daredevil or Marvel or those huge things. I just don't think it's the right lens to look at things through. If that
Yeah.
happens, great, but that's
Sure.
not most people.
Yeah.
Just statistically, it's just not most people. But there's so many. If you spend any time on Kickstarter or in the independent comic scene, there's so much freaking talent out there. Like really, really good people. A lot. I mean, a lot of people.
Yeah.
And like uh, you don't need 100,000 readers. You need 1,000 readers, and that's that's not that's if you look at it that way, that's not an impossible thing
Sure.
to achieve. Finding 1,000 people that like what you do and keep coming back for the things that you make. That's
Yeah.
just that is sustainable.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, like you said, there's so many really talented creators out there right now, and you want to try and support everybody, but you just can't. And like you said, sometimes some of those creators are making stuff that you aren't necessarily interested in, but you still appreciate the fact they're getting out there creating something. So you got to try and help share and support what you can. Um, and lately, Kickstarter's been a real fickle mistress lately with some of the stuff that's been going on. So yeah,
yeah,
it's brought a lot of attention to itself, and it can be hard to kind of fight against some of that negative attention sometimes. So it's cool
yeah,
that you guys were able to get funded. That's awesome.
yeah. I don't know. I think that was a pretty big misstep on their part. But
I
with
agree.
the if people that don't know what we're talking about, they started putting severe restrictions on people that had not safe for work content, but
The
only
uh
sexual stuff, really, not the violence
the
stuff.
Stripe controversy.
The Stripe cut, right? Yeah, so Stripe, Stripe was no longer not going to be connected with Kickstarter unless they put these
Stripe
guardrails on.
Stripe was cracking down on the stuff that could be allowed on Kickstarter.
Yeah, yeah, not cool.
Crazy times. Crazy times.
Yeah, crazy. Um, I mean, actually, I feel like Kickstarter walked it back a little bit, or no? Am I getting that wrong?
Yeah, I think they kind of did, but I don't know. I've heard different things from because I've got all sorts of different creator friends that make all different kinds of content, and I've heard kind
Yeah,
of about it. It's kind of still kind of a toss up. But
yeah,
yeah, Kickstarter is great when it wants to be, when it can be. Um, so it's awesome that, anytime anyone gets funded, it's awesome. So congrats for you guys getting funded.
thank you. Yeah,
So now for those that don't know about your comic Panopticon, why don't we take a minute right now, where we can tell everybody about it?
sure. So Panopticon is it's a dark sci-fi graphic novel. It's 88 pages, so it's pretty meaty. And it is complete. It's a complete 88 pages done, colored, blah blah blah, everything. Um, and I was just looking for money to print it. Um, it's dark sci-fi. Takes place in a prison, where a mysterious prison where there's a central blacked out tower that is able to see the entire prison, and so there's no privacy. Every corner of the prison is able to be seen from this one central tower. Um, and the seven inmates, which is also it kind of weird that there's only seven inmates, which is one of the mysteries,
Sure.
um, are have to navigate this space under constant surveillance. There's one small corner of one cell that like in the corner of the cell, just because of the geometry of where the tower is and the cell is, the line of sight makes one corner of this one cell um, if you stand in this one little corner, you can't be seen by the tower. And whether that's by design or an accident of the architecture. We don't know at this point in the story. And they've called this little area the Vale, and so the bully of the prison, that's his cell, and he doles out time in the Vale to people. It's one of it's his currency. So he kind of has this kind of control over the prison, getting people's food and maintaining dominance by um, allowing them time in the Vale. And he's the biggest guy, so he can, and he's the punisher, the enforcer, the bully.
Sure.
Um, So a new inmate joins the prison. Well, as the comic book starts, there's only six prisoners, and they get the seventh, who is a replacement for this character Pillory, which we don't meet, who is gone. And he comes. He doesn't have any memory, and as he's navigating this prison, he realizes that nobody in the prison really has too much memory. That's everything's kind of fuzzy. They're just kind of um, in the present, in their present, which is just this state of constant oppressive surveillance.
Yeah.
Now the tower's blacked out, so you don't actually know. They don't know who the guards are. They haven't seen the guards. They don't even know if they're being watched. But when when the when they break the codes of the prison, there are harsh punishments that come about, and so this new prisoner has to learn about his fellow inmates, has to learn about these strict codes, and there's only four things you can do in the prison: eat, sleep, shit, and bathe. There's no entertainment. It's just a box. Um, so he uh, he's new, and we understand that in ways that the other prisoners aren't, he's questioning his why he's there and is thinking about escape, whereas none of the other prisoners are thinking about this. And so that's one of the other central mysteries, is like, why is nobody thinking about escape? Why is he thinking about escape? Um, and who are the wardens of the prison? Who's watching them, and who's doling out um, this punishment when they step out of line. He also comes in with a huge glove, kind of like a big Hellboy glove, which is the third mystery of the story. Like, why is he wearing this glove? He doesn't even really seem to know why he's wearing it, but it's permanently on his arm. And so the 88 pages is just, you know do they escape? What's under the glove, and who are the wardens? That those are the questions that the readers will want to be answered by the end, and two of the three get answered. Um, and but you always need like a little bit of a cliffhanger. So
Sure.
the third part of that gets answered in Panopticon The Chasm, which is my next graphic novel. Um, Another 88 pages. Not part of this Kickstarter. This Kickstarter is just for that first 88 page prison story.
Sure.
Um, Panopticon The Chasm is the next 88 pages, and that's um, 80 pages are drawn, 70 pages are colored, so it's pretty close to being done as well. And
Nice.
that'll be done at the end of the summer. So
Nice.
for folks that are interested in it, there's by the end of the summer, there's 170 pages. The Panopticon, the Chasm. We see beyond the prison. I don't want to give anything away, but we see beyond the walls of the prison, and we understand more about who these prisoners are and how they ended up in the prison.
Nice.
And then the goal. Um, Sorry, long answer, but I'll
No, you're
I'll
good.
I'll
You're good.
twist it off here.
You're good.
um, there's a third installment, another 88 pages that's going to wrap it up. I love a trilogy, so that that's I'm going to start that in the fall. Um, I'm gonna write it this summer and then start drawing it in the fall. So
Nice.
it'll be done mid early to mid 2027.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. That actually kind of, went right into my next question was, what are your plans like? Do you have X amount of issues that you're going to do? Or, I mean, I guess in this case, X amount of graphic novels. And it sounds like, we're going to nail three different ones.
Yeah.
After that, do you have plans to continue the story? Are you going to wrap it up completely and then that's it? You're going to move to the next thing? Like, what are the plans for the future?
In my mind, the story ends after the third graphic novel.
Okay.
Um, but they're really cool characters, and when you draw, to me, I got some stickers here.
Nice.
That's Arson. Um, this is our main character, Itzhak. Um, this is Donkey, who's kind of like a bird-like character.
Love.
Um, here's the bully, Maruk. I don't know if you can see these,
Oh,
but
yep. Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah. Um, so they've been really fun to draw, and in my mind, they have a lot of personality. So um, there's definitely stories to be told. What happened before they were prisoners? I've always thought
Sure.
about that. I don't know the answer really, but so there's lots of stories to be told. It would really depend on if how successful Panopticon is.
Right on. Okay.
You know, Digital Pools is also that's kind of our flagship thing. So that story is also wrapping up after 12 issues, and then Alex has another story that he's writing called Ghost Division, which is another sci-fi story. Which it's a pretty cool idea. Like I'll give you the little 25-cent version of it, but
Okay.
um, so in real life there was this team of squad team group unit of soldiers in World War II that were called the Ghost Division, and their whole job was misdirection, and so they would like make like fake tanks, like balloons, like huge life-size balloons of tanks,
Yeah.
and they would paint murals, and they would um, make audio recordings of gunfire and tank fire and grenade fire and create all this misdirection for the enemy to cast doubt on who was actually out there. And they were called the Ghost Division. So Alex's story um, takes that idea of a group of people who are using misdirection to defeat an enemy, and he pushes it forward into the future, into sort of a sci-fi world. So
Nice.
um, that's probably where we'll go in 2027. Um, but again, like there's Panopticon and there's digital pools too. So I don't think those are I don't think those are necessarily done after these runs. But I think probably the next thing is going to be Ghost Division.
Nice. So future Panopticon is TBD.
TBD, yeah. I mean
Nice.
the three graphic
Yeah,
novels,
sure.
and
Yeah.
then yeah, we'll see.
After that, who knows?
Yeah,
Very
after
cool.
that, who knows?
Very cool.
Yeah.
So when you came up with Panopticon, were you inspired by a different story? Like, were there other elements from, other parts of pop culture that you pulled from to kind of to put the story together? How did you come up with it?
So the idea came from a podcast I was listening to, and the moderator was talking to this guest. I forget who the guest was, but the guest mentioned a panopticon, and I'd never heard of that before. And he explained what it was, and it just kind of sparked that little creative bubbling in the back of my mind. I think I'd been looking for something, a story to write,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool idea. A prison where there's no privacy and everyone's under constant surveillance and they don't know if the guards are even watching. And that was like, oh, that is such a cool idea for for a story. So that's where the idea came from. Um, you know, I like the idea of surveillance. Well, I don't like the idea of surveillance, but
Yeah, in the concept of a story.
in the concept of a story, I think
Yeah,
there's a lot of it's pretty rich, and
sure.
especially nowadays, as a teacher, like even my laptop, um, I don't think they do, but they have access to the district has access to my computer, and if they want to look through my emails and read my texts, I think they have the ability to do that. Um, and we've just kind of built this into our culture. We got cameras on our cars, and our every child over 12 is walking around with a full video camera, everything.
Yeah.
Um, you just drive through a town and there's cameras everywhere. So we live in I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy, but like the fact is that we are a pretty surveilled culture, and we're not
Yeah,
even the worst. I
yeah,
think actually we're up there. We're definitely in the top 10, but
for sure.
um, it's just kind of become part of our our culture, and mostly I think it's good. Mostly I think it's a positive, but there are so many areas where it can and it could go bad. Um, I just think it's something to constantly is to just be aware of and think about, and
Yeah.
um, there's definitely a trade-off because a lot of it's really useful and helpful. Um, but there's certainly a dark side, and that's what sci-fi is so good at is underlining that dark side and doing worst case scenarios. Like
Yeah.
Black Mirror is so good at that, like
Yeah.
thinking about the worst case scenario for something and like writing a story about that.
Yeah, I mean sometimes I've even had that too with some stories that I've done where, you just get inspired by like the weirdest thing. And those are always some the stories that I prefer. I know a lot of creators will get that little weird earworm of an idea and like, oh, that's ridiculous. I can't do that. But, those are the stories that you absolutely should take on and you should, pursue because, like, you listen to a podcast and got inspired to make Panopticon. I mean, that's how Kevin Smith made the movie Tusk. He heard it like I think it was like a want ad in the paper or something. He talked about it on one of his podcasts and he ended up developing it into a movie. So I mean,
Wow.
sometimes those little weird ideas that you don't really the most unlikely places to find ideas are sometimes the best ideas to find places or to find
Yeah.
ideas. I think that's what I'm trying to say. You sometimes find the best ideas in the most unlikely places. There we go. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
So that's cool that they just you were listening to a podcast one day and it just triggered, hey, this would be a cool idea, and then you just went with it. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's I hear musicians talk about that a lot, like where they get their. I
Yeah,
love listening to how musicians get their ideas for songs. You know, some of the songs that we revere, Beatles is a great uh, case in point. Like we love these songs, and they're just utter nonsense. They just don't. There's no, they heard a word on the radio or something, or somebody said something, or they read a poem
yeah,
and they wrote a song. Um, but yeah, like there's no it could come from anywhere. That's the cool thing about inspiration. It
it's
just
true.
hits, and then like go with it. If it hit,
Yeah,
if inspiration hits, like you
go
said,
with
like
it.
just it's an idea. It hit you, so
Yeah,
run with it.
I mean, inspiration can come from anywhere if you think about it. And speaking of musicians, I recently got into a band that my friend showed me. The name of the band is Backwoods Bouquet. They bill themselves as time traveling musicians, which is kind of awesome.
That's cool.
They all kind of wear like cowboy gear. They got cowboy boots and cowboy style shirts, cowboy hats, and they wear masks over their faces so you can't really see who they are. So they're kind of mysterious. And they're a brand new band. They've got, I think, 5 or 6 songs out now. And I don't think for me personally, I haven't found one that I don't like. I dig all of them. And I was just recently, I learned that all of the songs are inspired by the TV show Lost.
Oh, cool.
So every single song is, about a different episode of Lost, about different characters or about different things that came up on the show Lost. And I've never seen the show Lost. I mean, I'm old enough that I was around when it was on TV, like, every week. But that's one that I never got to watch. Just
Yeah.
because I haven't, there's so many things to watch. I just haven't had it added to the list yet. But it's like you said, it's kind of interesting where, inspiration can strike you. And the fact that this band's written half a dozen songs about the TV show Lost is kind of crazy because I never put it together until I was just, looking them up and like, oh yeah, they're all about Lost. It's crazy. So, never give up on an idea because it could come into something amazing.
Backwoods Bouquet.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll check them out.
Yeah, I dig them, and I usually listen to some like heavier music. That's not what these guys are.
Mm,
And I really really dig them. They're pretty fun
cool. Good reco.
for sure. Um, so we finished the Kickstarter, and you've got late pledges going on now. Is that correct?
Yeah, so anybody that wants to grab a copy, absolutely, yeah. The late pledges are going on for the first foreseeable future. I'm ordering, you know, uh, more books than I've sold, so I'll have copies around, for late pledges and for conventions for the next year. So,
Nice.
um, yeah, I'm hoping to grab. It's not even really about. I never really know how to talk about this, but um, the money is it's not it's more about getting people to read the thing.
Yeah,
Like I'm not doing this to make money. The money is really just helps facilitate the project.
sure.
Um, uh, I was thinking about it today. Like the biggest, the thing that would make me the happiest is somebody reading the first graphic novel, enjoying it enough to get the second graphic novel, and then having that aha moment and being like, oh, I got to go back and read the first one to find all the Easter eggs
Yeah,
that I now know are there, and the things that the things on the walls that I just kind of saw as like deck or whatever, just part of the prison. Let me go back and read. Um, that's like really that's success to me. Is when someone dives into the world and um, enough that they want to go back and that's if the best stories I always like. I'll read them the first time. I'm just kind of consuming. Uh, And then if it's a trade, I'll read a couple trades, over the course of a year or so, and then
yeah,
I'll always go back
sure,
and reread it again, closer and with all that knowledge of that you know, I know the story, but it doesn't take away from reading it again. It makes just reading it differently.
for sure. So those that go into catch a late pledge, I usually like to talk about, some of the add-ons or some of the extra stuff that are involved in the Kickstarter. Do you have any extras or add-ons that, people can add to their order?
Yeah, so they can. It's a soft cover book. There's also a hardcover book. There's also a hardcover version. Um, and there are sticker packs. These guys, and God, what else? Um, I kept it pretty simple. I I mean, there's a digital wallpaper that everyone who pledges gets, but you know
Yeah,
that's fun, but not like a reason to do a Kickstarter
sure. Yeah,
pledge.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, I kept it pretty simple. Just it's really about getting the book in people's hands. Um, there. Oh, actually, no. For those people that want to get, I think there's a tier called Collector's Edition. I'm doing um, sketches like original sketches with pen and ink.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so I think there's 5 or 6 people that pledged on that tier. So I've been busy working on those this past couple weeks,
Right
and
on.
I've got a couple done. So yeah, if you know if anyone wants to pledge at that collector's edition tier, you get a original sketch too, which you know I think they're pretty cool.
Right on.
Yeah.
Having a simple campaign is totally fine. I know sometimes people will get so caught up in all the extras and all the add-ons and stuff like that. I think sometimes it can take focus away from the book because they spend so much time on, alternate covers or, all the other different stuff. And sometimes the stuff, I mean, don't get me wrong, extra stuff is awesome. Sometimes some of the stuff people come up with are just incredible, and I'm not sure how they're able to make it happen, but they do, and
Mm.
that's awesome. But sometimes, like Michael Scott said, keep it simple, stupid. Hurts my feelings every time, but it's good advice.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, it's good to just have like a simple Kickstarter, just throw some stickers in there, digital stuff, whatever, and then just let it go because sometimes it's easy to keep it simple.
Yeah, I mean, I could see in the future doing more, but being a one man show for this graphic novel, it was just so much work to
Sure.
make the darn thing, and then you know anyone that hasn't done the Kickstarter, it's just getting the page live and getting all the artwork up there and the copy and the tiers. It's a month, you know, it's a month of
Yeah,
work.
yeah,
So
yeah.
um, you know, I just didn't have the brain space to do like a whole, you know, a thousand tiers. It
Yeah.
didn't make sense for this one. But you know, I'm not against it.
Sure. Yeah, I know my friend Blake from the podcast Blake's Buzz. Shout out to you, Blake. You're the man, dude. He people will hire him, to help promote their Kickstarters and build their Kickstarter pages, and
Hmm.
he does incredible work, and it's a lot of work. So I can definitely see why people would, kind of, you know, hand that off to somebody else to take care of. And it's a lot of work. I've never done it. I've just heard about, what it takes to put into a Kickstarter page to get it, stood up and going. And he does a lot of work, and I know it's a lot of work, but he does a great job. So, um, for those
I
out
have
there,
to
for those
shoot
out,
me an email. I might
okay, yeah, for
I
those,
might
I don't know what his rates are or anything like that, but for those out there who need help building an awesome Kickstarter page and having an awesome dude help promote your stuff, reach out to Blake. He's awesome, and I'll definitely shoot you his info. He's got a good podcast too. He goes live every Wednesday. It's called Blake's Buzz. He's an awesome dude. Um, really likes hot dogs. That's his thing. So yeah,
oh,
check him out. He's an awesome guy. He loves helping support comics. So if you want to try to get another show, that's a good one to get on too. And I think he's in Michigan, so I think that puts him in the same time zone as you, actually.
Michigan. I think that's yeah. It might
Yeah,
be central.
I think he's far enough in because he's close to Kansas City. Or no, that's Missouri, not Michigan. I don't know. I know he's close to Kansas City. Um, so yeah, he's in Eastern time. So he's in the same, but he goes live every Wednesday, helps people who got Kickstarters going, promote stuff. He's a good dude. So yeah,
Cool.
I'll send you his stuff. So with your stuff, I'll put the link in the description. I'll post the link out on social media so people can find you. We can help get not we, it's just me. I will help get the support out because I'm also a one man show. I used to not be a one man show, but now I'm a one man show.
Yeah,
But I will help get the link out there, get the word out, and to see what we can do to help get some late pledges.
that's awesome. Um, Listen, I want to thank you, man. Like,
Yeah,
uh, I genuinely mean this. Like, you know, making time and having folks like me on, and showing a genuine interest in the projects that we're working on. It really is. I mean, it's so great, and I really do genuinely appreciate it. And you're really good at what you do.
thanks,
Um,
man.
I was saying before, even before we met, your whole brand, the Fueled by Weird, and the little illustration that your friend did, and the whole thing. I think it's just great, and you know, podcasts like this in general, but you especially, I really appreciate you. So, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. And yeah, shout out to Mike Belcher because I remembered his name this time because I couldn't remember his last name before we started. So, Mike, I apologize if you're listening. Yeah, he did the artwork for the show. I just recently put that really cool orangish black background behind it. But yeah, the main me on there, the that guy,
Yeah.
that's all Mike. He's incredible. But no, thank you. I appreciate the sentiment. I don't have a huge platform, but I like to try to help all different kinds of creators out there kind of just get the word out. I do talk to a lot of comic book people, but I'm open to talking to whoever in any kind of, whatever kind of weird that you're fueled by, I want to talk about it. So
Cool.
I'm more than happy to do it. Um, before I
Yeah,
let
if you
you,
have us back on, Alex and I could, love to come back on at some point and talk about
yeah,
digital
man,
tools. He's got a really interesting day job too. He works, in tracking down criminals on the dark web. So
nice.
he's interesting guy, great writer, and so if you'd have us on, I'd love to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to bring it up afterwards, but we can bring it up now. You have my info, so just reach out anytime you want to come back and I'll see if I can we'll get you back on for sure.
Cool, man.
Yeah. So one thing before I let you go, if you now could go back in time and give younger you some advice, what would it be?
Um, it's advice I still haven't learned, so uh,
That's the best kind of advice, man. I'm so good at giving advice, but I'm
yeah,
shit at taking advice. So I get it.
yeah. I mean, I'm way better at it, but like the other week, I got invited to a sumo watch party. I don't know anything about sumo, but a guy that I do martial arts with was having like a sumo watch party, and they were going to make um, the traditional sumo stew called chango nabe,
Oh, wow.
and watch the Japanese finals of the sumo, annual whatever. I don't know
Sure.
the terminology, but
Yeah.
I was like, it's not really. I like him very much, but I wasn't gonna know anybody, and like it'd kind of be a fish out of water, although it sounded cool.
Yeah.
Um, and then I was like, just say yes. Like, what are you doing? Like, how often do you get invited to a sumo watch party? Like, just say yes and go. And like,
Yeah.
what's the worst that can happen? So my advice to little Matt would be like, dude, just say yes more. Like, say yes more, and just go do those things. It's not that I'm a shut in or anything, but like just saying yes to opportunities, um, and draw more. Like, you know, like I said, I had an epiphany when I was in my 30s. Before then, I didn't draw every day. I kind of thought I did, but I didn't really.
Yeah.
And now I draw like a couple hours a day. So,
Nice.
7 days a week, I'm finding the time every day, and I've been doing that for 20, 18, 20 years, um, like pretty religiously. So those would be the two things of advice. Like go to those sumo watch parties, say yes. Even if you feel uncomfortable, it'll be worth it. And then just draw every day. Like
Yeah.
find the time.
No, that's good advice, man. I am very similar. I'm not a shut-in, but I've been working at home. Well, I was working at home for the last 6 years. Because COVID, and we just recently went back to the office, and I realized how much of an indoor cat I turned into. Um, so I also have a hard time getting out of my comfort zone and saying yes to stuff like that, where it's like, I'm gonna enjoy this. Why would I even consider saying no? I should just go. And I've still got a lot of work to do on that, but I'm doing better at it. I know a couple of years ago, and this is gonna sound awful, but a couple of years ago, a friend reached out. He's like, "Hey, we're gonna go watch this anime." I think it was Demon Slayer. They were gonna do like they took the season finale of one season and the season premiere of the following season and mashed them up into one like movie, I
Mm,
guess. We're gonna
mm,
go watch that in movie theater. You want to come with us? I'm like, for a second, I considered saying no, and I'm like, no, I really want to do this. I'm gonna go
mm,
do it. And it
mhm.
was, I didn't know anybody other than the one friend, but it was an awesome time. So, yeah,
Yeah.
get more comfortable with getting out of your comfort zone for sure.
Yeah, that's a better way to say it. Get more comfortable getting out of your
Hey,
comfort
Aunt,
comfort zone.
I got what I'm picking up what you're putting down. I got it.
Yeah,
So yeah, very cool.
cool, man.
Where can people stay up to date with stuff that's coming from you? Where can they stay up to date on digital pools and Panopticon and all the other cool stuff you're going to be doing?
Um, so on Instagram, I'm at Panopticon Comic, and on or the dark web comics underscore, and those are our two main ones. Um, TikTok, I haven't cracked, although TikTok's not really a place to find people. TikTok, I have like,
It can be.
I not for me, dude.
I've I've found a lot of really great music from TikTok. That's my excuse.
Listen, yeah, as a consumer, I think I like it. As a
Sure, yeah,
person that's
yeah.
trying to get into the river of TikTok, I just I don't,
It's
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 rough.
I can give you some names. I got a couple of friends who have been able to make TikTok work really well for indie comics. So
Okay, yeah.
I'll hook you
Listen,
up with
I
some
would love
names.
that.
Yeah,
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 I can't. My last 10 posts have like one or two views. I think TikTok can be like kind of punishing sometimes. Like
it's rough.
it's rough. Like I don't
Yeah,
know what happened. I would usually get like, not that these are big numbers, these are awful numbers, but I'd get,
right.
a couple hundred views on a
Yeah,
TikTok. Just trying to promote my thing, whatever. Not even
yeah.
probably doing it very well. And then I did something wrong and I fucking pissed off the TikTok gods. And it all of a sudden it was like one view, four views, two views, you motherfucker. And it was
Yep.
like I'm in a weird place where now I don't even want to post anything because it's so like it's in my head. I don't want TikTok in my head.
Yeah.
Like that's you know. So, but anyway, I'm a little scattered tonight. Sorry.
No, you're
Places you
good.
can find me are a Panopticon Comic on Instagram, the Dark Web Comics underscore on Instagram, um, and panopticoncomic.com. We didn't talk about this, but I have a inmate creator on our website, panopticoncomic.com, where you can go and make an inmate. You can choose the eyes, the nose, um, the face, the race, what they eat, and make an actual inmate from the history of the Panopticon prison, and
Nice.
and then you can save that as your own like little piece of artwork, and it's got a token built into the back end of it, so you'll be able to use it. Um, People were using it on the Kickstarter for extra rewards. They got extra perks for the Kickstarter if they made a character, but it's still there. And making a character, if anyone's interested, will continue to have will continue to deliver rewards as I work through this project. So that's kind
Very
of a
cool.
fun little 5-minute thing people could do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Just real quick, I want to take a couple minutes to thank Polygon Horizon. The song Pizza Force is the song I use for the show. It's an awesome song. Go check them out on Spotify, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, all the other music places you can find. Show those dudes some love. You can find the show on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, just at Fueled by Weird. Also, shoot me an email at fueledbyweird@gmail.com. You can find the show on YouTube, Spotify, and anywhere you get your podcasts. And if you need help remembering any of those links, just go check out my link tree. Everything should be there, I think. Um, Check out my dude Hassel Hutchison. He's got a channel, the Nerdy Manroom Show, where he does the Nerdy Manroom Show. Also does Hassel Review. He does a bunch of reviews and unboxings. He also does Card Subject to Change, which is a what if for pro wrestling. So if you're a pro wrestling fan, go check that out. It's a great show. He puts a lot of work into it. Also, check out Big Rob and Big Rob's House of Entertainment and No Chinese Food. Big Rob's a great dude who goes all over the world or all over the country, finding all the great deals on toys. He does some reviews and stuff in there as well. The two of us, along with our friend Monster, make up the Stay Weird Network. We're a podcast network dedicated to bringing some awesome back to the internet. Check us out at Stay Weird Network on YouTube and Instagram, and shoot us an email at stayweirdnetwork@gmail.com. Now, if you like the show, please leave a review and tell your friends because word of mouth is my friend. And remember, kids, it's only weird if you make it weird. So make it real weird. Matt, thanks so much for joining me tonight, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. This was awesome. A lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.